What up, all my fight fans? So, what do we think about that Canelo Alvarez fight? That fight was very, very, very bad. It was terrible. It was terrible. It obviously broke the record. If you guys are not aware of, it broke the record of the fewer punches, I should say, the fewest punches ever thrown in a boxing match between two fighters. It broke that record, and that's extremely, extremely disappointing coming from a legend like Canelo Alvarez. His opponent, Skull, I don't know him very well. I know he held the title, the IBF title, that the thing that Canelo Alvarez wanted. It is what it is. But we'll talk about that later on. But as far as Canelo Alvarez goes, it's very disappointing. I remember watching Canelo Alvarez go against Matthew Hatton, Carlos Baldomir, Gomez, all these other fighters that he fought in his earlier days of his career, and it did not disappoint. We all remember him coming up, and it was always exciting. Except for recent years, he even got a few knockdowns in his recent fights, sure, but not the stoppages. So he has not stopped anybody. I think the last person he stopped was Caleb Plant back in 2021, if I recall correctly. Could be wrong on that one. But nonetheless, he has not stopped anybody. We saw him go against this guy. We knew who he was going against, and this guy was definitely nowhere near the level. He shouldn't have even been in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. He shouldn't have even been in the conversation with Canelo Alvarez, but due to the fact that he was holding the belt that Canelo Alvarez needed to become the undisputed champion, he was. So nonetheless, we got that fight. And the fight just ended up being, from top to bottom, from first round to 12 rounds, boring. Canelo Alvarez following, not cutting off the ring, following Skull around the ring, where Skull just trying himself to look pretty, trying himself to not get hurt, trying to make sure he did everything he could do to not get put down, to not feel Canelo Alvarez's power, and throwing a few combinations, a few punches here and there. Where Canelo Alvarez did a lot of body punching, did a lot of jabbing, why we shouldn't say, excuse me, I don't even know why I'm saying that. Why am I saying a lot? There wasn't a lot. There was maybe a few punches each and every round. Canelo Alvarez just so happened to land a little bit more than Skull did, where Skull was just running and moving. It was very disappointing. It reminded me a little bit more of the Devin Haney fight. And, for Skull, this is your biggest fight. I don't know if you're ever going to get a bigger fight. I don't know if you're ever going to get a bigger payday. I don't know if you're ever going to be on the biggest stage of your career ever again. And this is what you showed everybody. I'll get into Canelo Alvarez in a bit. But for Skull, his opponent, you have to show people why we should tune in to see you. I don't ever want to see you again. When I see a fight come on, I'm like, who are they? I don't want to see this guy because I know what he does. I know what he wants to do. He's going to run around and do nothing. Throw a few shots, throw a few jabs, and that's it. So why am I going to tune in to see you again? And that's something that Skull needed to do. He needed to prove everybody like, hey, this is the biggest stage. This is the biggest opponent. This is the biggest person in my career. I'm going to go in there and show everything I got. So next, moving forward, I can get the shot again. You just showed everybody that you do not care for that. You showed everybody that you do not want another shot. You showed everybody that you are okay being a C-level fighter. No disrespect, but that's what it is. When you get those chances, you need to show people. And he did not. He did not. Canelo Alvarez, being the superstar that he is, being the legendary fighter that he is, being that the fact that he stopped so many people, being the fact that he went in there toe-to-toe with a lot of other great veterans in the world, and you did not show us how great of a champion you are. You didn't show us that you are a pound-for-pound fighter. You were following him. Canelo Alvarez was following him, not cutting off the ring. This fight actually reminded me a little bit more of the Erislandy Lara fight, because if you guys remember the Erislandy Lara fight, he was actually doing the same thing that Skull was. They both come from Cuba. I think that's kind of like the fighting style that they have over there. But Canelo Alvarez was cutting off the ring a lot. Canelo Alvarez was actually doing his best to hit the body with a lot of combinations to get that fight, because it was a very close fight, and it was a fight a lot of people feel like Canelo Alvarez lost. But here, Canelo Alvarez was he almost felt lazy. He almost looked tired. He almost looked exhausted before the fight even started. And maybe it was the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia. Maybe it was the fact that it was starting at 6 in the morning instead of 7 in the morning. Maybe it was the fact that it's the first time Canelo Alvarez fought outside of Las Vegas and Mexico. He's never done that. God knows, I don't even know when. I can't even tell you. Maybe ever. So we could knock that up a little bit, but at the end of the day, he's still by far a professional. He still has had well over 60 fights. He still is a great fighter. He still is one of the pound-for-pound fighters, so he should have shown us how much of a pound-for-pound fighter. You are a A-plus star fighter. A great fighter that went against a very, very low level, B-level fighter and did nothing. You can't just put the blame on Scully. It's your job to catch him. It's your job to set him up with traps. It's your job to actually throw combinations and make him pay for running so much, for leaving his body open so much. You got to make the guy wish he did not be in there with you, and Canelo Alvarez did not do that. So again, guys, I am extremely disappointed in the fight. I'm extremely disappointed in the opponents, and Canelo Alvarez is just beyond words, very disappointing. So what's next? Well, we already know what's next. Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, a fight that we don't necessarily want. I would have wanted this fight if I seen Terence Crawford fight at middleweight, or if this fight went to 154, because I seen what what Terence Crawford could do at 154, and we know that Canelo Alvarez was a really good fighter at 154. So that would be some type of excitement. But being the fact that it's a couple weight classes up for Terence Crawford doesn't necessarily bring me excitement. It makes me a little interested and a little more curious just due to the fact of Canelo Alvarez's performance. Now, if we saw Canelo Alvarez go against the way he went against Caleb Plant, the way he went against Billy Joe Saunders, the way he went against Callum Smith, I would be like, oh my God, this is murder. This is murder. Like you are literally sending Terence Crawford to his death row. But with the fact that the matter is, no, it did not transpire like that. With the fact that Canelo Alvarez looked very, very slow, very sluggish, did not look like himself, maybe there's a slight chance that Terence Crawford could actually win this fight. Before, it was like, oh my God, Terence Crawford with his skills, and if he could carry it up in weight at 168 pounds, extremely impressive, legendary, 1,000%, by far will probably make him the greatest boxer to ever live if he were to get it done. But we'll get into that more, guys. So there you guys have it. This past weekend's fights. Friday, the Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia, dud. This Saturday, Scully versus Canelo Alvarez, dud. What can I say, guys? Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.